Are electric bikes gonna kill the garage mechanics? I wanna talk about that right now. As you already know, if you've been following the channel, I'm building my own electric bike using a Kawasaki frame and building my own custom battery using this QS138 motor right here. Between buying and modding off-the-shelf electric bikes and building my own from scratch, I've learned a lot about what you can and can't do when it comes to customizing and building and working on your own bikes. And I kind of wanted to share that here. I phrased it as, is it going to kill the garage mechanics? Because in some ways it kind of is, and in some ways it's going to do the. I wanted to share that here. So first of all, there are bikes like the Stark Varg, where if anything bad happens to it, if anything goes wrong, you have to contact support and they just send you a new part. That, in my eyes, means no garage mechanics. You can't plug into the bike and figure out what's wrong with it because you don't have the tools. So now, instead of doing a lot of the maintenance on the bike like you would a top end on a gas bike, you are contacting company, seeing if they can send you a new motor or a new gearbox or a new battery and just swapping the part out. All the bearings and seals and tires and whatnot, that's all the same, but the actual powertrain of the unit is very hard to do anything with. And so a lot of ways it's progressing towards getting rid of garage mechanics, but it's kind of a turning point right now. And I think that us as a community, we can kind of decide which way it goes. On one hand, there's a Stark where you can't do anything to it. On the flip side of that, you got a lot of companies that are focusing on the build-it-yourself type of community. And it's really cool because you can build an electric bike that is just as good as one you can buy. We're kind of in a unique market where we have access to most of the stuff that the big manufacturers have access to. You want to run the same battery cell as the Stark Varg? It's the Molicel P45B. You can buy it off the shelf. You want the QS138 motor? You can buy that off the shelf. That's not in the Stark Varg, to be clear. They have a different thing, but it's not necessarily better. I've mentioned in other videos, there's places that can make custom connections for your specific battery shape and size. And there's a lot of customizing that you can do, and it's still at an affordable price point. You like, my entire custom bike build is only going to be about half the cost of a Stark Varg. And so I think because of that, if anything, we're going to get more people entering this garage mechanic type hobby because it's a lot easier to build your own battery powered bike than it is to build a gas bike. There's plenty of us that can rebuild a gas motor, but it's really rare that you see people doing gas motor swaps. And when you do see those kind of builds, it's kind of just the same thing played over and over again because there's only certain gas motors and certain gas bike frames that are great and people want to do those swaps into. And when you do one of those swaps, there's a lot more that you have to worry about than with an electric bike. It's still not easy to build an electric bike. It takes tools and it takes skills, but I think that there's going to be more people developing those skills. Right now, it's kind of a new thing and people aren't quite used to it. And when they see battery builds like this, they kind of freak out. Like that's a crazy thing. What's that witchcraft? But this is easier than rebuilding a gas bike. Like rebuilding a 4-stroke motor, for example, that takes a lot of work and a lot of precision. So I think in reality, the percentage of the gas dirt bike market that can actually rebuild their motor all the way to the bottom end too, I would say that has a lower percentage than we're going to see with electric bikes. Because yes, the average electric bike rider usually knows a whole lot less about dirt bikes than the average gas bike rider, but I feel like the point of knowing anything about electric bikes and knowing everything about electric bikes is pretty close. And I'm not writing off how hard it is to build an electric bike because it takes a ton of work and there's a lot of really nice builds that I've seen that I don't want to discredit. And I'm building one right now that's taking a ton of work and a ton of time, and it's still a full-blown project. But considering all of the tools that I've acquired over my life for rebuilding gas vehicles on dirt bikes, cars, trucks, whatever, compared to the tools that I've had to buy to build this electric bike, the starting price point is just absurdly lower. All the different motor tools that you need is crazy. The only tool that I needed to buy for this battery build was a spot welder. That was it. And if you've already been building bikes or working on bikes for a while, you already have most of the tools that you need to build an electric bike. Because in my case, for example, I'm starting with an '08 Kawasaki that has not been treated well. So I would say at least half of the build is just restoring this old bike that hasn't been maintained very well up to show level quality like I want. I'm Cerakoting the whole frame and everything. I'm replacing every single little bearing. Ground up rebuild. And if you've done that to a bike, you know how hard that is. It doesn't seem like that much when you look at each individual thing, but if you do every single part of it, it takes a lot of work. And so if you started with a newer frame and you just did the electric swap, it wouldn't be nearly as much work. But if you want to go pick up a blown up old crappy bike for $700 or $800 like I did and do all the rebuilding, you can do that. If you already have those tools and you've already been working on gas bikes. So I think the transition is actually pretty easy for most of us. Not that we're transitioning away from gas bikes. I'm not saying that at all. Keep your gas bike. I got my Beta in the garage still. We're not getting rid of gas bikes. They're great. But accept electric bikes for what they are. It's another super fun thing. There's a different thrill that you get from riding a really good electric bike. And if you haven't experienced that, do it. Because no, I don't believe that they're replacing gas bikes, but I do believe that they're here to stay. And it's just another one of those things that just why not appreciate it and have fun? You know how many people hated four-strokes when they came out? That was such a huge deal. People thought that it ruined motocross. Some people still think it ruined motocross, but did two-stroke bikes disappear? No. Two-stroke bikes are still amazing. We just have another version of that now. You can appreciate two-strokes, you can appreciate four-strokes, you can appreciate bikes. And that's okay. You can go riding with anybody with any of those things. Personally, I would love to own all three. I have owned all three at different points in time. I'm just not rich enough to keep all three. So if you gain anything from this video, I just want it to be that electric bikes are great, gas bikes are great, and if you are invested into gas bikes a whole lot, and because of that you're kind of hating electric bikes, just try one. You can still be a gas bike rider. They're not gonna make gas bikes go away. It's all right, try one. It's fun. You can have both, and if you do decide to switch to electric bikes, a lot of it's the same. You can still work on them. Depending on the one you get, you can do a whole lot to them. It's another fun part of the hobby, and that's as far as it goes. So if this has opened your mind to electric bikes, I would love to hear about it because that is absolutely my goal. I don't want to convert you to electric bikes, but I would love for you to open your mind if you haven't already. And if you are super hardcore electric bike, I want you to open your mind to gas bikes the same way. If you haven't ridden one and you got into the hobby when electric bikes started to become a thing, you should go try a gas bike because there's a lot of fun to be had on those. So I'll be posting more videos riding the Beta as well as finishing up this electric bike build and riding that. So if you're interested in either one, and hopefully both, please follow along. I got a lot of exciting stuff to share on that. Super exciting stuff coming up soon. So stay tuned and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.